All right. The planning board will hold a public hearing pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5 on Wednesday, February 10th, 2020 at 7 p.m. via Zoom to consider and receive comments from interested parties concerning the Zoom articles to appear on the warrant of the annual town meeting, which will be held on Monday, May 3rd. I'm assuming that is actually supposed to be 2021. So the articles are summarized as follows. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaw to modify section 250-21D to allow for detached accessory apartments by special permit. Amendment to Bolton zoning's bylaw section 250-12 to add detached accessory apartments to the schedule of permitted uses under the residential zoning district by special permit from the planning board. Amendment to Bolton's zoning bylaw section 250-28 to add definition for accessory apartment. Amendment to Bolton zoning bylaw to modify section 250-18F to require temporary signs pertaining to the lease or sale of land or building to be removed 14 days after closing date of sale, and amendment to Bolton zoning bylaw to add an outdoor lighting bylaw. And is there anything else, or if you scroll lower, is that's it?
That is all.
Okay, all right.
So I will pull up the articles.
All right, so we've got the first article in front of us. Are there any, I mean, are there people here that are kind of, I guess, what's the best way to approach this, Erica? Is it, I mean, we've kind of gone through these previously, but I know that this is as a public hearing now.
So, I'm happy to just sort of walk through it with the board,
Okay.
like
That'd
we've
be
done
great.
in the past, and then we can talk about the new edits from the last meeting.
Okay.
So the first article is updating our accessory apartment bylaw. The amendment is to allow for detached accessory apartments in the residential zoning district. So the way that the bylaw amendment is laid out, this first section here applies to both attached and detached accessory apartments. And then this paragraph has to do with attached accessory apartments, which we allow by right already in the residential district. And then this last paragraph is really the new section that talks about detached accessory apartments. So that would be allowed through the special permit process with the planning board. And the requirements would be that the accessory apartment would need to appear incidental to the primary. The accessory apartment cannot be held or transferred into separate ownership from the principal residence. The gross heated floor area of living area of the detached accessory apartment cannot exceed 50% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling or 1,200 square feet. So there is a maximum of 1,200 square feet. However, we are providing some flexibility if this bylaw does pass for any structures built prior to this bylaw passing. If a structure, an existing structure, grandfathered structure exceeds that 1,200 square feet, the planning board can make a determination whether or not an accessory apartment would be an acceptable use for that particular structure. Then we have requirements for the driveway. There can't be more than one curb cut. There needs to be adequate provision for ingress and egress in accordance with state building code. We need to provide, the resident would need to provide adequate parking for the accessory apartment. And then beyond that, this is a special permit process. So the planning board could add any safeguards or limitations that they feel are necessary on the use to make sure that it's in conformance with the neighborhood and with the town. So that generally, that's the overview of the bylaw amendment.
Okay, so the only thing that might want to look at on the curb cuts, I mean, if a house already has two curb cuts, do they need to fill one in if they want to put in it? I think maybe just saying no additional curb cuts or something, I mean, if somebody already has a circular driveway and they want to put on a detached accessory apartment, what do they do with their two existing ones where we say they could only have one curb cut?
It does call out the horseshoe driveway in there. Is that enough?
Oh,
It
except
does,
has
yeah, it
to-
does allow. It says,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess is there a reason not to just to say no new curb cuts for the?
Yeah, it's got the circular, but I mean, if you've got a detached barn that may have a separate curb cut already, I'm just trying to think whether that's going to be problematic.
I mean, we could certainly take that requirement out and then leave it up to the special permit process to sort of vet that particular topic. So if there's a property that it makes sense because they have significant frontage or whatever, maybe there's a reason
Yeah.
why a second curb cut would make sense, then the planning board could opine on that. I always feel it's helpful to provide some flexibility as you're going through the process. And then if you, in the future, you find that, no, we need to put that in the bylaw, you could certainly amend it. So that's an option.
I
Just
mean,
take it out.
I don't have a problem with the concept. I'm just wondering whether we're, whether we're going to create a problem for ourselves down the road with that wording.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody has a big enough property and the detached unit is far enough away, they might make sense to have a second driveway. So maybe she just take that one out.
I suppose my only concern with that that approach would be the fact that we advocate for common driveways so often and
Well,
reduce
Yeah.
curb cuts. So I don't want to be counterproductive here.
So maybe say, we'll take under consideration multiple driveways or something. Or, I mean, we prefer one, but if it makes the board, if it's deemed necessary, can allow two or something. I don't know, something like that.
Well, we've got the one above it. It says, allowed, maybe considered at the discretion of the SPG, the SPGA. So it could be you list all of this and just say, additional curb cuts shall only be allowed at the discretion of the SPGA. And it gives, the special permit process a chance to provide additional curb cuts if needed, but it also states here that it's not desirable. It's not the first thing that we want.
Yeah.
And then we can leave it that. Okay. Were there any other questions, comments from the board? Any other questions, comments from anyone else attending the hearing from the audience? All right, hearing none. Do we want to go on the next one?
Sure. Actually, just one edit I wanted to point out from our last meeting that you had requested. We talked about Airbnbs. So that I've
Transient
updated that
access.
language.
Okay.
here.
Mhm.
Great.
I think we were talking about short-term rentals, but when I looked up the definition for short-term rentals through the state, it's a little bit muddy when we talk about bed and breakfasts. So I didn't want to go down that road. So I stuck with this online home rental service. I think that's very
Yeah. Okay.
clear.
That's fine.
Yeah, for transient occupancy.
Do we vote on recommending these at the end, or do we do each one individually?
I think we should just vote at the end if the board feels comfortable with all of them. If not, we can then go back and individually vote. But it might be just easier to vote at the end. I mean, it's
Yeah,
up to
with the whole
Yeah,
roll call.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that sounds good.
So this also included updating the schedule of permitted uses to call it detached, and then adding a definition for accessory apartment, which we did not have currently. That's that entire bylaw article, excuse me. So the next one is an amendment to the temporary sign bylaw. And this has to do with real estate signs that you see throughout town. The way that the bylaw reads now, it doesn't allow for the word sold. So what we're doing here is we're removing that language, but keeping the intent by adding language that states the sign shall be removed within 14 days after closing date of sale.
Sale or lease. Since we're covering,
That sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good. Any questions, comments from the board? Any questions, comments from the audience? Do we even have anyone? Oh, no, we do.
there's one person.
One person. Okay. Okay. Not hearing anything. Let's go to the next article.
So the next article is a proposed outdoor lighting bylaw that will apply to lots and parcels specific to business and industrial uses. Uses that are exempt will be single family homes and 2-family homes, street lights, lights that control traffic, public safety lights, municipal properties, athletic fields, light fixtures required for FAA, seasonal holiday lighting, and then any existing outdoor lighting approved through the issuance of a special permit or site plan approval up to the town meeting date. Prohibited outdoor lighting includes color shading lights or static color lights, flickering or flashing lights, and then neon lights, mercury vapor, and searchlights. Then there's a section for definitions for the various
And you
characteristics.
added bug in too. That's good.
I did because I thought it was it was
good.
because it has to do with light trespass. I felt like it was an important definition to include. So
Yeah, and when we use it, we will now know what it means.
yeah, because I don't think I would have remembered that.
Yeah, no.
So no, it's good that we add that in there. And then I updated, the fully shielded to the fully cut off. We updated the definition for light trespass based on Danielle's lighting experts' recommendations for that. And then in terms of requirements, we're preferring energy efficient lamps. We talk about the light trespass and how that after 10 feet from the property line, there needs to be 0 light trespass. Any luminaire with a lamp or lamps rated higher than 2000 lumens need to be full cutoff. And then this one, this requirement we updated just recently. A luminaire attached to the exterior of a building or structure for area lighting shall be full cutoff to control glare. The luminaire shall be mounted no higher than 20 feet above grade or at a height approved by the special permit and or site plan approval granting authority.
Okay.
Again, luminaires that are on a pole can't be more than 20 feet. They need to be full cutoff. We've put in hours for the outdoor lighting from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Obviously that, safety and security lighting is exempt from that. Uses allowed by special permit and or site plan approval have additional requirements, including ranges for color temperature, measurements for color rendering index. They're required to submit a photometric plan, and then there's various requirements as part of that photometric plan, including the bug rating.
Any
Danielle,
questions, comments from, oh yeah, sorry.
One thing I wanted to mention tonight is I did present these articles to advisory last night.
Yep.
And some of the Board of Selectmen members were on the Zoom call, and they brought up a really good point that I wanted to mention tonight. They thought, and actually advisory, I think as well, they found this outdoor lighting bylaw to be way beyond the depth of what they could, they just didn't know enough about it. And they felt that it was very detailed for a bylaw and that they were worried it wouldn't pass at town meeting. So one of the Board of Selectmen members had a recommendation, perhaps some of this could be taken out and put into rules and regulations instead. And I actually think that was a great comment. So I wanted to mention that to the board, particularly with the photometric plan. I think all of the things that we've outlined here could be put into rules and regulations. I don't think it needs to be specified. So it's just something to think about for the board.
So how would we, would you take the whole article out and not have any?
Oh, no. I would just take out some of the more detailed
Specific requiring.
Yeah, and then I think I would add in one more line item that would give the board the authorization basically to create rules and regulations to go along with this bylaw. And then that's where this, like for photometric plan, I think I would take out, numbers 1 through 10.
The requirements and put that under there.
That would be in the rules and regulations. And then potentially maybe some of the definitions, we would simplify it a bit, essentially.
I don't see an issue with doing that. Does anyone,
I thought it was a good suggestion because if we determine we need to make some tiny change, we can do it just on a special, just on a hearing versus town meeting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that. And I'm all in favor for simplifying anything that needs to go in front of town meeting. So I think that's a great, and even, you saw us when we got this. I had to bring in a lighting expert to kind of go through stuff for me to even understand what some of the stuff is that we were proposing. So I totally get that. And that maybe it isn't appropriate to have 100% of this, in the bylaw. So I think that'd be a great idea to trim this down and then have an accompanying rules and regs for this.
I have a question too about, like, Brian Boyle brought up a good point. The wording of may and shall and stuff. So if it's like a very small business, say like the candle shop beside the common, I can't see a person that's opening a candle shop getting a photometric plan. And I know, Erica, you brought up the fact that it just comes in the instructions of the lights or whatever. But it does, is the use of may and shall, there's a difference between the candle shop beside the common and some bigger business along 495, so can we wait with, you said the site plan approval may be required. So on each special permit, are we going to define what of this we want done or?
No, so with regard to a photometrics plan, if they know what type of lights they want installed, in the exterior portion of it, the manufacturer can prepare this. And it's a lot, like I've had photometrics plans prepared for me, and usually the manufacturer doesn't charge anything. So, they just give it to you because they want you to use their fixtures. So they're more than willing to usually provide a photometrics. Very rarely have I seen where it actually costs anything. So as long as they know what fixtures, kind of they want, and I assume they'd have some input into what they would want to put in the outside, this shouldn't be an additional cost to provide that.
That's good. But also just on the use of the wording, what does it
Well,
say?
if we want it-
may be required, like, so is that kind of like the
Well,
traffic? Is that like the traffic study? Like we could waive it if we want?
I mean, the word may would imply, yes, we could waive it. The word shall means no, it's required. Like that's usually legally, if you say it shall include this, that means that must include that. If you use the word may, there's, it's not set in stone.
So is that contradictory then, where you say uses allowed by special permit and a site plan approval may be required, and then later you say this plan
Where
shall?
are you, sorry, where are you looking?
E photomet-
No,
photometrics.
no, I think that's right, Eric. I mean, if we require the plan, if we require a lighting plan, then it shall include these items.
Okay, so
If we don't require the plan, then there's no.
so it sounds like we could waive the plan if we want, but if we do require it, it'll include those items.
It has to
Okay.
include
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. No, I'm okay with pulling all that out to put in the rules and regs. I mean, do we want to pull, like the maximum minimum colors and hours as well to make it easier to update those if it becomes a problem?
I was
Or
thinking
to-
that as well. And the only reason why I don't necessarily know about the hours, but the colors I was thinking would be good because as we just talked, technology is always changing. And while we're saying, 2000 a 32 fit, whatever it is, I mean, I'm not a lighting expert, so I don't know. 10 years down the road, is that still going to be appropriate and applicable? So I would think, Erica, would that also be appropriate to take out and have it in the rules and regs?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, number 7.
Yeah.
So what did you just say? See the rules and regs for details or whatever?
I don't even think it's that. I think I just add, you'll see it sprinkled throughout our zoning bylaw. There'll be a requirement that says, the planning board shall have the authority, or it's something like that, to create rules and regulations to go along with this bylaw. I'll literally just pull it verbatim from other sections and stick it in here. So that way,
Okay.
you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, Mark. I think that makes sense as well. The only thing I was thinking is the hours I don't think would change because I don't think we're ever potentially going to, I think 11 to 6 is reasonable. I don't see that changing necessarily in the future, but specifics of lights, colors, plans and stuff like that we would be requiring, I would think would all be appropriate to kind of pull out. But that's just my thought.
Yep.
So Danielle, does it make sense then, since we're kind of going to restructure this to sort of go back to the beginning and kind of walk through it again? And then that way it gives me a good sense of what to pull out, what to keep. And then I think the board at that
Sure.
point would have a better comfort level in voting on this tonight.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say it looks like B you need to keep because those are the requirements. Do you need to have definitions in this or can that be in the rules and regs?
That can be in the rules and regs. That can be pushed.
All right, so C could come out.
Unless there are any of the, well, we talked about light trespass, in the next section, I think.
So
we
how
might
about
need-
this? I'll keep the definitions where the words remain.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'll take out the words and put it in the rules and regulations where it only will be shown in the rules and regs. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. And then under D, I mean, I think 1 is fine to keep in there. Oh, sorry, you went
Actually,
past 2, sorry. I mean, I would almost say pull 2 out. We had a lot of discussion on that. I don't know. I mean, we have it as the discretion, or wait, no, maybe I'm thinking of the other. Actually, no,
No,
sorry, I'm thinking of the other one.
I think 2 stays in.
2 stays in, okay. 3. I think 3 is straightforward. I would keep that in.
Yep.
And yeah, so number 4 was the one I was thinking of where we say are approved by the special permit. I mean, I would, in that instance, I would probably just keep it in. Honestly, I think 7's the only one I'm really seeing that should be pulled out. Do people think others should be pulled out? I'd probably keep 1 through 6.
Yeah, I'm trying to think whether 3 should be, just where we call out a specific.
Yeah, 2,000 lumens. You could pull 3. You could pull 3 and 7.
Well, did we remove the definition for cutoff?
No, she's going to keep anything that we keep. She's going to
Okay.
keep definition in here. So if we talked about cutoff, she'll keep that definition in here.
Okay.
Although I do think full cutoff is an important concept, and I'm just trying to figure out if we mention.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think 3, if we're gonna have it, I mean, that's an important piece
I
of.
think I think we need to mention the full cutoff, so we can certainly modify that language somehow. If we don't want to call out the lumens, but I think we do have to mention full cutoff because that is an important, I think, piece to this outdoor lighting bylaw, or this next one does. Oh, that's to the exterior of a building.
Yeah, no, I think you need both 3 and 4. You're right. I think they kind of, they hit on different things.
All right, so
Yeah.
full cutoff is mentioned, so perhaps we could get rid of 3 then. Okay.
I'm problem with you. I'm just wondering about, having the 2,000 number in there, whether we could.
So yeah,
refer back to the rules and regs for,
Okay.
for where that takes effect or something. I'm not quite sure how to word it offhand.
no, I think that's fine. Well, if we pull 3 and 7, those are both specific requirements, and we'll put those in the rules and regs.
Okay.
And then all of E would go in the regs.
Can I ask a question? So the rules and regs, does that just apply to businesses or does that apply to residential developments as well?
Well, we would make it this to be consistent with this. It would apply to businesses, commercial, industrial, but it would not apply to. Like we'd
No,
be.
well, I know, but you could have a residential development, a large scale residential development, not single family houses, but like, I don't know, say a condo or whatever, that you would want to have some type of lighting plan. So I'm saying, do the rules and regs apply to that as well? Or is that
If you go back
Oh, I think-
if you go back to section A, I think anything above 2 units.
Yeah, I think so a large condo would be subject to this because
Yeah.
we said.
Well, yeah, I understand, but what I'm saying is that subject to rules and reg, or is it a different plan?
And anything that's subject to this bylaw would be subject to the rules and regs associated with it.
Yeah, I think they go
So-
hand in hand.
Yeah. I mean, the rules
Okay.
and regs are just spelling out these details that we don't want in the bylaw.
Got it.
And then Eric, I think the only thing is to pull out E as well. The whole,
So-
the whole.
Oh, the whole thing? I was gonna pull out 1 through 10. I think that we still need to mention that a photometric plan may be required. But
Oh,
then I'll just-
gotcha.
I'll
Okay.
just take out the plan shall include, that'll all end up in. the
Okay, gotcha. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
and then for definition.
Okay.
Okay. I think.
Yeah,
so
I
is
think
the
that's
board
it.
comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Is everyone else comfortable? Don't mean
Yep.
to speak for everyone. Any comments, questions from the audience on this particular one? Oh, I see some chats. Hold on.
It looks like we lost our one participant.
Um, Nope,
So
she
it's
just, it was a comment, no questions regarding lighting. Thank you for the review. of The proposed amendments. My questions were answered during the review. Have a good night.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's just us now, as
Oh,
usual.
okay, so I can stop asking. All right, so let's skip over the road acceptance ones, right? Do we
Sure.
want to skip over this? Okay.
Okay, so that's it.
So do we need to make a motion at least not, which, for the,
Can I say one
Sorry,
thing
yeah,
that
go ahead.
happened at
Yeah.
advisory last night, Erica?
Yeah,
So
of
it's,
course.
so Stan and Bob chimed in on Century Mill that they weren't in favor of the idea of a payment plan being acceptable. You know, they were basically saying they weren't in full. So, you know, we could present this, but it sounded like at least they, if it stayed with the payment plan, that they'd probably not recommend it to town, which is fine. They can do that. But just so you guys know.
I mean, isn't that
That's good
kind
to
of
know, thank you.
between them and the tax collector, or them and the you know, town administrator and the, you know, I mean,
I'm just saying that, you know, we might present this with a 5-0 in recommendation, and that the selectmen might not recommend it based on the fact that it's a payment plan. I don't know. It's just from the gist I got from last night listening to them.
I mean, I'll be surprised
how
if he
does
has
it-
everything done anyway. So
Yeah, but how
that's
does
true.
that, just logistically speaking, so if we get, just say everything lines up in a row, we get everything, we submit a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, you know, for road acceptance, do they then have to vote on it, whether they accept it or not before town meeting, right?
Yeah, I think they could still present the article even if they don't recommend it. Actually, is that right, Mark?
I believe so. I believe it would still go on the warrant with our recommendation and their recommendation.
Right.
Okay,
But
so it would be, it would either say planning board's recommendation and Board of Selectmen no recommendation or something like that?
They would recommend against it.
they
Yeah,
would
that's what I mean.
disapprove it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
or the ever popular recommendation to be given on the floor.
So here, you know, it would give, you know, if it's 3 members, it would be, you know, 3 in favor, or if it was 2 in
Okay,
favor,
I see.
So it would
Gotcha.
be stated here. I don't know. That's a question, I suppose, for town council. He'll be reviewing these articles when we get to here. You know, there's not a location here for, I mean, planning board will be presenting it anyway, so you'll read your report. So the town will know whether or not you're recommending it just by that.
Yeah. No, I was just curious if it notes whether the Board of Selectmen recommended it ahead of time or not, but just curious. All right, so do we need to take a motion at least on the, how many articles is it?
Accessory apartments and
Is it
the
5?
lighting.
There's 3 zoning articles.
There's,
So there's the accessory apartment, the temporary sign
okay,
bylaw amendment, and
and then the
the
outdoor
other.
light.
Those are all the zoning. So 3 zoning articles.
Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the 3 town meeting articles, zoning articles for town meeting as discussed?
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or can Erica, do you want to do a roll call for all those in favor?
Or all those in favor, Danielle Spicer,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mike Gore,
Aye.
Eric Nyland,
Aye.
Peter Driscoll,
Aye.
Mark Sprague.
Aye.
All right, passed unanimously. So now, I mean, do we want to, we can at least, how do you want to do the 2 road acceptances? I mean, we can review the Houghton Farm one. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so the board could, I mean, my recommendation on Century Mill, since we've given them a deadline of February 24th to get all remaining items outstanding items completed. I think the vote on that I think the board should wait,
Okay.
obviously. And then Houghton Farm, I would say maybe we wait on both of these because we haven't heard from Niche Engineering yet on the as-built plans. I'm assuming everything's
Oh,
gonna
okay,
be in
okay.
order and it'll be fine, but it's up to the board. I mean, if you feel comfortable voting tonight, I haven't heard back yet on the as-built.
No, I would say let's get the stuff back from Niche. Let's make sure we're good to go and then let's vote.
Okay.
Um,
So why don't we plan to vote at the next meeting on February 24th
Okay.
on the road articles?
And where we need to review the properties before final recommendation anyway, do we need to make a recommendation now or we can just?
I suppose you, so let me think about that. I'd have to pull, I apologize. I can't remember off the
No,
top of
it's-
my head what the deadlines were, but at some point the Board of Selectmen will be seeking your report for the road
Yeah.
acceptance articles. And I believe that's in March. So you would have.
Yeah, that was
until-
March 4th. Like we said, we were gonna get information by February 25th and try to get them stuff by March 4th, if I remember.
Yeah, it's
correctly.
either March 4th or March 11th. I think March 4th was when the
Oh, okay.
as-built plans needed to be submitted to them.
Okay.
So it's either one of those two dates. So our meeting in March, I don't have my phone. Does anyone have our meeting date? The first
Yes.
meeting in March?
Hold on. We have March 10th and 24th.
Yeah, I was
We're
just
gonna have
wondering
up till
when-
March 10th.
Okay.
Do we do inspections for any winter damage and, before you make our recommendation?
I don't know if you're gonna be able to do that till the snow melts. 'Cause you're not gonna be able to see anything. Which may be April, unfortunately. I mean, we're getting quite a bit of snow this winter.
Yeah, so I don't, yeah, so I'm not sure how we make that recommendation before we ensure that there's no problems, but I guess,
I would also say that that's, I think, part of the reason why we hold back a portion of the bond. For Houghton Farm, they actually haven't really requested very many reductions in their bonds. We're holding, or I should say the bank is holding over 200,000 still. So I think Houghton Farm's a safe bet. But I can understand Mark's point. So.
because I thought that was supposed to be part of our recommendation was ensuring that there were no damage over the winter to the final pavement and such.
So for Houghton Farm, what we did in addition to the surety is they've provided, it's in draft form right now. I have to get back to them because I need to have them tweak something and then have them sign it. But they've submitted a letter of commitment stating that they would finish all of the outstanding items this spring. I think we gave them, I think I forwarded this to the board. Gosh, I hope I did. We gave them certain deadlines to get those items completed. And obviously we wouldn't release any bond until that was done. So there are those two items that sort of, again, give some security.
Okay.
On Century Mill, and we know the tax story, but has he got his appraisal yet, or is that not anywhere close?
The last time I spoke to him might have been before our last meeting, I think, and he was working with an appraiser, but I don't think that it had been done yet.
Sounds about right.
Did
He's
we
always
ever get an
working.
insurance policy for over the winter? Did we ever get that?
Unfortunately, the way that, this is played out is that Andy tends to hold everything hostage until he gets one thing that he wants. And so it's been a very slow process. He wanted the board to weigh in on the taxes before he'd move forward with the as-built. And then he wants the as-built, accepted before he submits the surety. So unfortunately, Again, he holds certain items hostage, which makes it challenging.
Yeah.
All right, do we want to, so do you want to go to the next thing, a review of planning board permit fee schedule?
We're right on time.
We have
I
to
know.
close the hearing or no?
Oh,
Because
I'm
there's-
sorry. Yeah, where is my brain
Oh,
tonight? Yes,
sorry.
close the hearing.
Is there a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion
Moving
to close the hearing.
I'll second.
All right. Eric, you want to just do it, all those in favor?
Sure. All those in favor by roll call? Daniel Spicer,
Aye.
Mike Gore,
Aye.
Peter Driscoll,
Aye.
Eric Nyland,
Aye.
and Mark Sprague.
Aye.
All right, hearing's closed. Now into business. Review of the planning board permit fee and schedule.
Hold on one second. I just have to open it up. Okay, so at the last meeting, the board had requested that we look at the filing fees for planning board applications, which is good because I hadn't updated this or even looked at it in quite a while, and we hadn't added the bed and breakfast establishments and homes either, which Eric caught. So we now have bed and breakfast is included, and then the barn, stable, and carriage house preservation special permit fee included. And this is structured based on the application fees set with the Zoning Board of Appeals. They issue both variances and special permits, and both of their application fees are $100 plus $6 per certified abutter, which I think is a good way to do it. So the board can weigh in and.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Yeah, if
So-
that's consistent with ZBA, that makes sense.
So this is a recommendation that we give to the selectmen and they have to vote on it?
Correct.
And the red is just what we have added or changed, right?
Correct. Yep.
So I think I asked this, where did these fall before? I mean, there's no like general, is there just like general special permit somewhere on here?
Yeah. So if you look at the fee structure, the majority of the special permits are 540, like 540, 540, back on lot 540. 540 tends to be, our special permit fee. So that was what I was going off of.
What is the other column? Column D, what is that one?
That's looks like an additional fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the $6 would be an additional fee on top of the
Okay.
100 per abutter, I should say.
So why is a common driveway so expensive compared to three single driveways?
Yep, so this has an asterisk next to it. So if you go
Yeah.
down here, the filing fee is for purposes of partially covering the estimated expenses incurred for consulting engineering for plan review. So this covers more.
Okay.
That's why it's more expensive. So that initial review that Fred Hamway has done in the past would get covered in the filing fee.
Okay.
I'm not
No
saying
wonder
it's,
no wonder people on single driveways instead of shared commons.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I mean, certainly we could take a step back and review all of these. If we're going to update it, I mean, maybe it makes sense to kind of vet all of these out and see if some of these need to be changed. We can look at other communities that also do common driveways. I believe Harvard and Berlin both do common driveways. We could see what they charge and see if they include the consultant fees in it.
I think we could do that in the future. I think it's good just to get these two cases added in here and then we can look
Yeah.
at the rest of it later, probably.
Okay.
But in fairness too, with common driveways, they do require quite a bit of work on like an administrative end. I
Yeah.
tend to have to do a lot of coordination with the applicant. They tend to go several public hearings, meetings. It's a lot of coordination with the peer reviewers. So even though it's just a common driveway, it tends to be just as much work as almost a subdivision. So,
Okay.
Does the 2,700 cover typically the engineering expense?
I don't think so. It's been a while since we've had one come forward. I'll have to take a look back as to how I calculated. I mean, that's the other thing. It's not really clear for me. Like I have to make a judgment call on how much should be administrative and how much should be covered by the peer
Yeah.
review. I think in the past, if I remember correctly, what I did was I would request what Fred anticipated the cost to be for that initial review. And I would take that out. I would subtract it out, and whatever was left, typically, let's say it's 500, that would be the administrative fee that would go into the general fund.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with just going for, just at least putting this in front of them, and then we can reassess if the other amounts need to be changed.
So if the accessory apartment bylaw passes, where would that fall? Would that fall under the barn, stable, and carriage?
That would be
Special
its
permit?
own, that would be its own line item. So
Okay.
accessory apartment, special permit, and then the board could set their recommendation if you want it to be $100 plus the $6 of butter. If you want it to be that computation again. You could
Yeah, I
certainly-
asked Erica about that and she said we should hold off until it passes or not.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
we don't want to add it beforehand. I agree.
Okay.
Okay, any other additional comments on this one?
Nope.
So
Okay.
does the board feel comfortable with me advancing this to Board of Selectmen, or would you prefer, we do a little research with other communities? It's up to you. I mean, I think to some degree, it's almost comparing apples and oranges when we look at other communities because their administrative costs, it's just different because every department's structured differently. So it's hard to get a good comparison, but
I would just send this to the Board of Selectmen and just as it is, unless others.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would send it as is, and if the accessory apartment passes, we'll be sending them a new one, and we
With
can
just that
look
one
at-
line item though.
Well, yeah, but that gives us a little more time to, see how our,
See if there's
see if there's
anything
anything else we want to change, or if we have more information on any of them. So,
If the Lovecraft special permit ever comes through, they'll definitely get their $540 worth. I assume it'll fall into there.
540 and review fee determined by the planning board. So,
Oh, true. I didn't know that.
All right. So Erica, you'll take this to the Board of Selectmen?
Sure. Do you think we should have a vote?
yeah, I was just thinking that
Okay.
Yeah.
doesn't hurt. Okay, move that we accept the planning board fees as outlined in the spreadsheet here, adding in the bed and breakfast and barn and stable permits.
Second.
Erica, do a roll call for all those in favor? Oh, she might have frozen. Erica, can you hear us?
Hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
You're okay.
Yes, now I
Okay.
can. Yep.
Chairman Danielle Spicer,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Mike Gore,
Aye.
Peter Driscoll,
Aye.
Eric Nyland,
Aye.
and Mark Sprague.
Aye.
All right. Passes unanimously. Do we have to wait 5 minutes to go into the review? I guess we could do administration. For 5 minutes. Letter of support for the MOBD grant application. Do you want to get that update?
So I don't know if you saw the email I sent today, but I didn't realize the application was due today. This is a joint application between Bolton and Stowe. The Stowe town planner brought this to my attention. They're concerned because Bose will be leaving their site on Main Street in the near future. So they're trying to figure out, what to do with that section of 117. So MOBD has put out this this grant application just recently that has to do with revitalizing areas post-COVID for economic development. And so they thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of take a look at the whole corridor, not just Bose, but also down into Bolton. So we're including the industrial district and then up to the 495 corridor area. So the EDC, I talked to the EDC about that. Eric's signed off on a letter of support that was submitted today. So it'd be great to have the support of the planning board. If this moves forward and we're awarded the grant. So
do we don't need to make a motion then or
Nope.
anything? It's just
Nope.
enough. Okay.
just an update that this is out there. So we'll be, sort of reevaluating that section of Main Street. If there's a need for rezoning or, how we can help existing businesses, Bolton Office Park comes to mind. They're 70% vacant right now. So, and I also, when Stowe brought this to my attention, I was like, actually, this is a great opportunity as an extension to the master planning process. I think, whatever consultant we hire can help sort of as part of that process. So I think it's a win-win if we are awarded anything. So.
Okay. That sounds great. Let's do the approval of the planning board annual report.
Okay. I just need to pull it up. Okay. So this report is for 2020 and basically just outlines the various decisions that the board made during, the various public meetings and public hearings. It gives updates on projects that are under construction. And it talks about the various initiatives that the planning department supported throughout the year. And then at the very end, there's just a summary of the financial statement. So.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions or comments on this? We need to still make a motion, right?
That would be great. Yeah. And then once I have that,
Yeah.
I'll forward this to Jenny for her to put it together
Okay.
with all the other ones.
Would someone like to make a
Thorough as
motion?
always.
I'll move we accept the planning board annual report as presented
For 2020.
for 2020.
Second.
And roll call for all those in favor?
Danielle Spicer,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mike Gore,
Aye.
Peter Driscoll,
Aye.
Eric Nyland,
Aye.
Mark Sprague.
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
All right, it's 8 o'clock, so we can jump to the review of Design Review Board Rules and Regulations.
Okay. So if the board recalls, I think it was either last June or last July, the board met with Michelle Tuck, who's the chair of the Design Review Board, and she had, discussed the need for sort of a follow-up with applicants to make sure that any of the recommendations that the Design Review Board provided, that they were incorporated into the design. So we had talked about updating the bylaw, but then we decided that potentially those edits could be made just within the rules and regulations. So that's what this is here. And I think in the conclusion of that discussion, we decided that really what needed to happen was just one additional meeting towards the end between all parties involved. So a joint meeting between the planning board and the DRB along with the applicant is what I had taken from the meeting minutes.
Yeah, I think that's because I think they usually go to DRB pretty early, but to loop it back around, have DRB meet with planning board is really good.
Yeah. So back on, I don't know, is item 1 or 2. Let's see, so 2B, I guess the question, it's like the proposed apartments behind Bolton Office Park, would those be covered?
They'll be covered because we've requested them to go through the process if they want it to be a friendly 40B. But generally speaking, it does call out mixed use. So like for the mixed use overlay district, that would be covered.
Right.
So 40Bs are kind of its own animal. Up till now, every developer, that's recently done a 40B, the planning board's recommended it. I've asked them to go
Yeah.
through that process and they have. So up till now, I haven't had pushback. The developers that are looking at doing larger 40Bs near the 495 corridor, I've mentioned it to both of them and they're both, willing to go through that process. So as of now, it hasn't been an issue.
Okay.
Whether or not, they're willing to accept all of the recommendations, that's another story, but they're at least willing to go through the process.
Okay. Just trying to make sure that we're not carving out a chunk of development that really should be going through the process. So, okay.
Just to back up, actually, I kind of jumped the gun on that too. To back up, if you look at our bylaw, our design review criteria bylaw, it doesn't apply to residential. We've talked about this. Actually, I think we talked about this with Michelle. So it really only applies to industrial, business, commercial. But with 40Bs, like I said, we've recommended it, so they've been willing to go through it.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Let's scroll down.
And then I really didn't make any changes to anything else. Oh, I guess I did. I take that back. The application fee is $100. That was set a while ago. So I've added that in. I've just updated the submission requirements. I also think that I don't particularly like the fact that we reference the bylaw. We restate it within the rules and regulations. So that's up to you if you want to keep it or take it out. I'm always, nervous that we update something and then I forget to.
Why don't we just reference the section then and just say, design review criteria for the code, you could say, reference a specific section of the bylaw so that way it doesn't.
Yeah, we reference it right at the very top, actually.
Yeah, then I would just delete it. It's never good to
I
have.
agree. It should just be in one spot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's much better.
Just saved a bunch of paper.
There we go. Mhm.
Okay, so steps moving forward. I will have Michelle review it, make sure she's on board. And then I think what we can do is when we are ready to revise the subdivision rules and regs, we can couple the public hearings together in one night and just have you hold the public hearing for both rules and regulations. And you guys can, adopt them at that point.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So let's do the approval of meeting minutes from January 27th. Did everyone get a chance to review these ahead of time, or do they need to take some time to review them now?
I'm all set.
I'm all set.
Yeah.
So,
Does anyone want to make a motion for approving the January 27th, 2021 minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the planning board minutes from January 27th, 2021.
second,
And roll call for all those in favor.
Chair Danielle Spicer,
Aye?
Vice Chair Mike Gore,
Aye.
Peter Driscoll,
Aye.
Eric Nyland,
Aye.
and Mark Sprague.
aye.
All right. Can we jump to the review of subdivision rules and regs? Even though it's not quite 8:20?
I think that's fine.
Considering,
Yeah, if it's the only thing left, let's just get it done.
and there's no one here from outside of the planning board, so I'm assuming we're okay to do this.
Okay. So over the course of the last several months, the board has talked about some pretty minor updates to the subdivision rules and regulations. So I will scroll to the first edit that we've talked about. So I think this kind of came up because of Keys Farm and the location of the driveway curb cuts. So, this is just an idea, obviously. So we're talking about the topography and grading plan. There's a section in here that talks about, the street lighting and the sidewalks being shown. So then I updated that sentence to just say street lighting, sidewalks, and driveway curb cuts shall be shown. I think that's a fair request because they fall within the road
Yeah.
right of way.
Yep.
I
And
agree.
really, it is helpful when we, particularly where the driveway curb cuts intersect with a sidewalk. It's good to be able to see those, that grading. Otherwise we're having to review it during the driveway application, and that can be a little bit more complicated. So I think this would be good to see it up front.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so that's, the board's amenable to that change?
Yep.
Okay. So I actually had a recommendation from one of the Conservation Commission members. She had asked if the board in the future could make sure that we're requesting only native species for trees and other plantings. I thought we already did this, but when I went back and looked at the section that talked about, street shade trees, it didn't identify it as being native species. So I've added in that word.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good, so now we're being consistent with the Conservation Commission, which is good. We don't want to be specifying stuff that they're not okay with.
And then we also have had discussions about the look, I think both on Century Mill and Keys Farm, this has come up where there wasn't sufficient spacing to place the street trees within the grass strip between the road and the sidewalk. So I've updated that language to say such trees shall be located rather than in the grass plot. I say to be located within the right of way of the road. And then that provides some flexibility as to where the best location would be for the trees. And then the 75 feet always tends to get modified. So I just say spaced approximately 75 feet on center.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
And then just one last potential modification. I did have a call from a resident who's a contractor in town. And I think these are the same requests he made the last time around when we were considering updating the subdivision rules and regs. And I do think they're good comments. You know, he suggested that for the street trees, we up the diameter to, you know, he was saying 4 inches, but I think we should give a range. I was thinking, you know, updating it from 2 to 2.5 to 3 to 4. I think the survival rate is better. I think it just aesthetically looks better for the newer developments. And so
It does. I will say a 4-inch tree is pretty expensive. It's definitely getting up there. I mean, it's fine. You know, I'm okay with a recommendation, but I mean, I think a 3-inch tree. I mean, even a 2.5 to 4 or something like that. I don't know.
Is there a reason to have a maximum? I mean, shall be at least 3 inches.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
say shall be a minimum of 3 inches. Maybe that's it, and not put a maximum. They're certainly not going to do. Usually, they will always take the minimum whenever they're buying trees. I would just. I mean, 4-inch tree is very pretty big. So I think saying a minimum of 3, it works.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't know where they're getting their trees from, and if they, if they're getting them from some other development that has, that already has them, 4.5 inches, then great, all the better for us. So, yeah, I mean, we want a minimum. I don't think we care,
Yeah.
how big they want to get them. It's just like, at least 12 feet in height. We don't have a maximum there. So, okay.
Yeah.
okay.
So, in just E.
I think there was a spelling, right?
Sure.
I-
Ensure is ensure, yeah. Okay.
Another recommendation from that same resident, and I think he had recommended this last time. We require 8 inches of gravel subbase and he's recommending that we up it to 24. I know that's a pretty significant change.
Is this for this is for roadways?
This is for the roadway. Yeah. Well, I think
24 is over. I'll just say, I mean, I think that's definitely overkill to require a minimum 24 inches. Do you know why he was saying that?
so. I actually asked him, I said, it would be helpful if you could just attend one of these meetings when we talk about these changes so that you can sort of make your case as to
Yeah.
why you think we should be changing this. So he said he's more than happy to do that. So I invited him last minute this evening, but I assume he wasn't able to attend. So the next time you guys talk about it, I'll make sure that he's aware of it. So that way,
I
he
mean,
can,
even if he just sent in an email that gave
yeah,
his
sure. That's
reasoning.
a good point. I'll call him and ask him to do that.
And
I mean,
does our-
we do roads all the time, and we've never had a minimum of 24 inches, unless there's issues specifically where the geotech was like, look, you need to do 24 inches of gravel burrow or some reason like that. 8 inches is the minimum. I've seen a lot of times where we do a minimum of 12 inches. I mean, that would be reasonable, but to require a minimum of 24 inches across the board when there's no specific reason, I think is overkill. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
more than willing to hear what his reasoning is, but
Yeah, sure.
I haven't heard that being an issue about roads crumbling or anything, so I don't know that we need to touch it.
Yeah, I guess I'd ask what our DPW director has to say on it.
I will do that. I will get Randy to weigh in as well. I think anything that we can do moving forward to reduce any maintenance the town has to do on a new road is a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will get Randy to weigh in, and if 8 inches is sufficient, then that's fine. But maybe it needs to be 12. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it seems like a pretty big jump to go from 8 to 24
it's
without a really
huge.
good
And the only
justification.
Yeah, and the only time I've seen it go to something like that is with a specific reason as to why. Maybe there was extremely high groundwater where it was getting into that base, so they wanted, more of a frost level to be able to allow it to drain better, or so. I mean, there could be absolutely reasons as to why that would be appropriate, but to just say it across the board is a bit extreme,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yep.
okay, I will reach out to him and ask him to send an email on that, and I will contact DPW. Let's see here. So I think this is probably the most extensive change. We had talked about curbing and whether or not to require vertical granite curbing. And speaking with our new DPW director, he recommended that we just don't even allow for curbing. He's very much in favor of low impact development techniques, having the runoff go, over the shoulder into a swale. So that's the way I've structured this. Obviously, I'll edit the way the planning board would like it to be edited, but so that's sort of how it's been
I'm
drafted.
all, yeah,
Hey,
I'm
Erica,
all for when it went. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Erica. Can you scroll up just a little bit? It was something about something set in concrete.
Oh, I think it just it wanted me to auto correct with a hyphen. So I just did it.
Okay, I just
Oh, set in or set in, gotcha.
okay. All right, I just didn't know if we missed one up. Sorry.
The only thing I was going to say about the curbing is, if the road doesn't have curb and it can be designed to sheet flow and low impact development, that's awesome. But what I would say is where roads are needed to be curbed, I'm all 100% for vertical granite curb. I mean, bituminous is just not a good curb. I'm not a fan of it.
I'm with you,
So-
Danielle.
it's so such a horrible curb to maintain, and it gets nicked and it's horrible. So is that kind of what you're saying? So curbing is not required where non-structural LED techniques are designed. Where non-structural lighting techniques are not practical and a closed drain system is deemed accessible, road shall have vertical. Yes, I love that. I love B. I know we may get pushback on price for that, but it's so worth it.
I 100% agree. Now that
Yeah.
I've had to oversee so many construction projects,
Oh,
I am in full favor of this, and I don't care if they complain about the cost because we have so many subdivisions
I think
that
that's it.
Yeah.
Is we just
can't
need to
build somewhere
right.
else. That's sort of become my attitude. So
You saved
Yeah.
your money on the
No.
4-inch trees.
yeah,
Put it to the
Yeah.
curbs.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I think that's fine exactly how you've got it written.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a big improvement.
So I'm just jumping down to your next one, sidewalks. There's an issue with being a minimum of 4 feet. I know you say it should be in accordance with Architectural Access Board. I would revise this to 5 feet. And the only reason why I'm going to say that is anytime you have any type of direction change with a sidewalk, you have to have a 5x5 circle to be ADA compliant. And if you have a 4-foot sidewalk, you're going to have this 4-foot sidewalk go into this like wide 5 foot by 5 foot, and then it's going to go back into 4. It's going to look kind of ridiculous. So if you just require minimum sidewalks to be 5 feet in width, they'll always be in compliance with ADA as long as they meet slopes and stuff like that. But at least you won't have these weird, it goes small, large type of thing. So that's where I would, recommend just saying a minimum of 5 feet wide. Unless it's like a really small, short, straight thing where you could, it's one of those, do we allow, I guess, for a minimization at the discretion of the planning board? Because I could see in instances where maybe it's straight shot, there are no bends, and they can't quite fit in a 5-foot sidewalk, so maybe a 4-foot would be okay. And 4-foot still, don't get me wrong, still meets ADA compliance and MAAB, but as soon as you have bends or changes in more than a 5% change in slope and other things, you have to do this 5-foot by 5-foot thing. So it just makes it weird if you have to have that. So if you scroll down at all, do we allow for
no, not really. I mean, we just talk about it being able to
Yeah.
meander and be more of, a path, I suppose.
This is one of those tricky ones because I'm never a fan of increasing impervious area, and so I like the idea of 4 feet. It's just it becomes difficult to make that work sometimes with ADA. That's why 5 feet I think sometimes makes more sense.
Actually, the reason
But
why
if we
I
could
had
provide,
put it,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say the reason why I had called it out and I wanted the board to deliberate on it was because all of the complete streets projects that, if the town at some point moves forward with,
Yeah,
they're all going to be 5 feet. So I
Yeah.
just think throughout the town, we should be consistent. So that was the reasoning why I thought it should be looked at.
It also provides for a much easier when you kind of walk by each other, you have more space and stuff like that. I mean, there's benefits all around. I'm completely fine with saying a minimum of 5, since, but if others feel strongly.
I mean, if that's what's going to be required for complete streets, I would say be consistent and, going forward. And I mean, these are the
Yeah,
rules
and I
and
mean, they
regs,
can
so
always
we
make it,
can,
we can always revise it. Yeah, as you said, yeah, we could do that. Either that, I mean, and to get to the increased impervious area, they could always make it permeable pavement, or there's other things that they can do to offset that additional foot. But I I would say let's say minimum 5 feet.
Was there an issue at Keys Farm where they talked about the width of the grass strip between the sidewalk and the road? And is this another foot eating into that, or do we put it another way? Do we call out what that width should be between the sidewalk and the road?
Yep, so it's a 5-foot grass strip that we require. So we can look at that in terms of the total road right of way. I believe I calculated it as I was like tweaking this to make sure that everything could fit. And I believe it does very nicely. I think there's plenty of room. I think the concern with Keys Farm was getting those street trees within that grass strip. Same with
Okay.
Century Mill. That's where
Yeah.
that 5-foot became tricky. So
Yeah, if you're putting any trees in a 5-foot grass, they don't have a lot of room to grow. You need a much usually wider for that. But yep.
oh, so this is another, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. We're, and maybe this is not applicable, depending on the location throughout town. Certainly along Main Street, we're requiring concrete sidewalks now with complete streets. I don't know if that's necessary for these subdivisions though. So just a thought.
I like concrete a lot better, but I don't know if it needs to be a requirement.
And should we put in here the option, the pavement for sidewalk, either bituminous pavement, 2 inches compacted or concrete?
Yeah, I would say, or 6-inch or 6-inch concrete.
Or whatever it is that complete streets requires. And then probably take off bituminous at the start of the section.
It's just a
Yeah, it's just pavement for sidewalks.
yep, and bicycle path.
The 10-foot bicycle path, what is that?
So that's a shared use path. So typically, like in complete streets will require this. If you're going to do a shared use path, it has to be minimum 10 feet if you're going to allow bicycles on it, because 2 bicycles passing each other need at least the width of 10 feet.
Is that what a rail trail is? Is that 10 feet wide?
Yeah, most of them are all 10 feet wide. Yep.
Okay.
Can't remember now if there are any other edits that might have been, I think that might have been it. So please let me know if I've missed anything that we've talked about over the last several months. That was it that I could recall.
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
Do we need anything?
I love the fact that we're going to get vertical granite curb in here.
Me too.
Do we need anything for minimum driveway width?
Oh,
I don't particularly want to go there, but that's not my decision to make, I guess. So
I'm just asking. I'm not.
yeah. I'm sort of in Danielle's camp when it comes to impervious area. I don't like to add it if we don't have to.
Yeah.
So I think a 10-foot driveway is plenty sufficient if, fire can get up there. So I don't like, and I can't imagine that a developer is going to do less than 10 feet. So I don't know.
Okay.
I'm okay just leaving it as is for right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've only had one developer who's had an issue with it so far.
Right. And that would be, I mean, we could certainly look at that would be under our driveway rules and regulations. And
Yeah.
we can certainly look at that, at another meeting.
Yeah, I think just making sure that there's something in there that they need to be installed per plan. So if their plan calls out 12 feet along a certain path, then they need to install it that way. which is kind of what the intention of the application is anyway.
So I thought that was, I get that. I mean, we don't need to kind of go into this right now, but I guess, seemed like town council was saying something a little bit different, but,
My only concern with driveways do not get reviewed by an our consultant engineer. I don't know that we necessarily want to go down that path. I don't know of any other community that does that. That's my only concern, it puts a lot of onus on the town to get everything right. And that sometimes can be very hard when you're just doing visual inspections.
Yeah.
Now,
Erica, I got a question real quick. The development that's going on near the Bolton DPW, is that Tadmore?
yes,
So that walking trail that's paved, because it's just kind of what we were just talking about, that's been paved from Tadmore down that into the DPW area.
that's correct.
After that's been sold and everything is all said and done, who maintains that
That'll
walking
be the
trail?
town. That'll be the town.
Okay, all right.
Or at least, at least for the portion that's in the open space, I think there'll be I'm guessing there'll be an easement across that commercial property. And then I assume the town will maintain that as well, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Because when we're talking about sidewalks and, I'm just thinking it's like, well, is that eventually gonna have to be repaved or whatever it is who's responsible for that?
Yeah, my guess is it'll likely be the town.
Okay, all right.
But that sidewalk, that sidewalk will not be for nothing, because we do anticipate at some point making upgrades to that intersection at Forbush and Main, and that will get tied into those upgrades. So I think
Gotcha,
it'll be a
gotcha.
nice addition. It
No,
won't
I
be a
agree, I agree.
sidewalk
I was
to nowhere.
I was just curious because I drive past
Yeah.
it all the time. I'm like, well, when that's all said and done, who has to maintain it? So, all right, thank you, Erica.
No problem.
all right, well, I think
Do
we're,
you want a motion
sorry.
to accept the changes?
Well, I think we need to do a public hearing. Well, I know
Okay.
for certain that we need to do a public
Okay,
hearing.
yeah.
So why don't we,
Okay.
if the board's
so we'll do
comfortable-
both. Because we
When
have both
would you
this and the design review board, right? We want to do them both together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when would the board like to do that?
Do it at the next hearing, or can we do it at the next hearing?
Well, I have to advertise it. So that just,
Okay, so
so it
the
may not
March-
be the next meeting, but it could potentially be the meeting after that.
that's fine.
So
Okay.
maybe in March?
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
board comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I will get that scheduled.
All right, is there any other items? If not, does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, I'd just say aye.
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 All right.
Everyone?
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good
Bye.
night,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Aye.
Right.